All right, my friends, we are here with the folks from Denon and Marantz in the prestigious Shirakawa Factory and Museum in Japan. We've got Shane Lee from Shane Lee Reviews on as well. How you guys doing?
Great. And I just hear a little bit of, okay, we're doing great.
Phil, I'm doing great. It's always awesome having you guys here. The legendary Phil Jones. I don't need to do an introduction to you anymore because you are a rock star.
Okay. Well, let me introduce you to some of the other guys. So
Absolutely.
A lot of times this is a global event where we actually come to Shirakawa once a year at least. And we go through and we learn about some of the new products, some of the upcoming products, which I'd love to tell you about, but I like my job. But we can talk a little later. But I have some people from around the world here. So there's a lot of product experts that work with me, and you may see them on some of my YouTube on our YouTube channel. So if you look at the Sound United / Massimo training channel, you may have seen some of these gentlemen. So Frederic, where do you live?
I am in Hong Kong.
I'm in Hong Kong. This is We Are the World right now. Jan, where are you from, Jan?
Yeah, I'm from Paris.
So my French guy. And then Roland, where are you from?
Yeah, from Germany. So little town.
Little town. So we also, and along the way, we're also going to have several other people that I think your audience is going to have a kick talking to. But we wanted to kind of get everybody together and then talk a little bit about where we're at, which is Shirakawa. So we wanted to, and you and I had talked about, hey, let's do this. Remember, because I just got you your Cinema 30, correct?
Yes, we do have one in for review.
Yeah. So we wanted to just figured we'd get together and talk about the heritage of the companies. And this facility is also not only manufacturing, but engineering is done here. A little bit down the road is also another facility in Kawasaki, where there's more engineering stuff done. There's sound tuning done there. And while we're at it, there's some new products that I figured we should actually.
So the room you're in now, is it the museum, or is there actually like a listening area where the sound tuning is done? Where exactly are you at this point?
Where we're at right now is we're in the original facility used to be the Denon facility. It was built in like 83, I believe, something like that. And then to manufacture Denon. And now there's several other brands that are manufactured here as well. Denon Marantz Class A. And where we're at right now is we're actually in the museum. We talk about the fact that the goal is to maintain the heritage of the products that we build. So for example, this museum holds some really classic Denon pieces all the way down to something like some of the early turntables from the early 1900s.
Yeah, that's really wonderful.
Yeah. So there's also the other side. We're over on the Marantz side today. There's some stuff over there that I can't show you, so we're pointing over here. So we're over on the Marantz side because we're going to be talking about a couple of new Marantz pieces, and there's some really classic Marantz pieces in here too. So this is kind of like the mecca of if you want to come and see some of the more what I guess it would be historic or iconic. Thank you. Exactly. The French guy's got to give me a better English. The more iconic of all of the different products. But then on top of that, manufacturing is done here. So, and we know that manufacturing is a little bit in between of there's some things that are better done by a small robot, little small pieces on a circuit board, right? Sure. And we use the best precision, the best engineering still to program those machines, and to make those machines do what you need to do takes skill. So precise manufacturing for these small parts, but then there's some things that a human being just does better. So anybody that has a Denon cartridge, this lady probably made it for you. So she was down there. This is actually taken yesterday when she was actually making a DL103. So she was actually going in and doing the winding by hand. And she actually makes most of these. So you talk about there's a care, a craftsmanship. It's almost like it's a passion. It's art, you know. So yes, you want your electronic part, but there's still some things that you need human touch, and you need people who are passionate to and about doing it right in order to actually do it.
Yeah.
So quick question for you. I don't know if this is the case with Marantz, but I do know there are certain Denon or Denon, however you want to call it. There are products that Denon they offer in Japan that they don't offer in the States, right?
Mhm.
Is it because the Japanese market is more geared towards the hi-fi 2-channel than maybe the domestic market? Because I've seen some incredible pieces that you guys offer in Japan that aren't here. And that's
Yeah.
where the PMA series came from. It's kind of a heritage throwback to that, the anniversary stuff that you guys had here. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Well, actually, we have a guest. Who's the
Yes, Yuki-san, actually.
So-
Come over here. Come on.
So, since we're talking about, products and how they're made and the sound tuning, we figured that we would bring someone in that knows a little bit more than me. So this is Yuki-san. Yuki, what's the full name?
Yuki Takahashi.
Takahashi. I call it Takahashi-san. So you've seen him in videos and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Is responsible for a lot of sound tuning many of the Denon products. So what are some of the Denon products that you've actually done?
Originally, I joined Denon 2001.
Mhm.
Over 20 years, I've been in charge of almost all AVR.
So yeah, so 8500s, a lot of the ones we've seen, and even some of the new the new 110 series.
AVR A1.
AVR A110.
Right.
So you were asking about some products are, yes, for the Japanese market. And a lot of times it depends on how many we're going to sell. And then the power supplies, that would be, because sometimes you have to worry about converting the power. So the question is, so a lot of times you will see stuff in Japan that you will not see in the US, but then sometimes those products get converted.
Wow. Since 70s, we have been built PMA series over 50 years. But last 2 years ago, PMA A110 launched in US.
Yeah, and that's based on.
I know Jane already reviewed.
Yeah. I love the A110. That's an example of a product that you don't just go by spec, right? It says it's 80 watts a channel, but the power supply in that thing is so robust. The heatsink area is so robust. The amplifier design is so robust. It could drive a fork.
So let's talk about that. We just had this conversation before we even started the video about sound tuning and how, why do we do it? And because on paper, if the specs are the same, they should sound the same. And I think you've had experience with sometimes the specs is bad and it sounds great. Sometimes the specs are great and it sounds okay. Sometimes the specs are the same and they still sound different. So
and not even specs, even just measuring it on a bench, because some people put too much emphasis on the measurements, and it almost becomes like this thing where I won't buy a product if it doesn't hit a certain SINAD number or a certain spec number. And I'm here to tell you guys, I've been measuring components for 25 years. And yes, I love measurements. I invested in the measurement equipment. But at the end of the day, that doesn't always translate to if the product is going to sound great in a real room on real loudspeakers. I know Shane has had a ton of experience with this as well, with products where he and I go back and forth on stuff we're reviewing and like, we really like how this thing sounds, but it doesn't bench test as well. And some of this could be deliberate from manufacturing. You guys have a lot of things to consider besides just the measurements. And that's why hearing someone like Yuki-san come in here and talk about that. First of all, it's an honor to meet you. I know you're a legend. You've been doing this stuff for a long time. And I definitely would love to hear your insights onto the tuning, the sounding of your products.
So what's the process? So first engineer comes up with kind of a prototype.
From the beginning, as you said, the measurement is very important for the base specification. After that, we added the characteristic using construction, part selection, and so on.
Yeah,
we can add it.
Yeah, because I've seen some small things you've done, like pieces of tape on certain capacitors and little things that actually you could actually hear a difference. So.
All parts have a characteristic. We know each characteristic, what each sound. We select
the right parts.
We make sound.
Now, how long do you think the process normally takes? So say you were going to do a brand new flagship AVR that Gene's going to review.
Oh yeah.
You know, how long do you think it would take for you to
We designed the new model for a year.
Mhm.
The first 6 months, we built the basic design.
Mhm.
After 6 months, we tune
Mhm.
the sound.
Mhm.
For a year.
For a year, about a year. Oh, and by the way, Gene, there's listening rooms here,
Mhm.
but there's a Denon sound room and a Marantz sound room, and those are located in Kawasaki, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
finally
yeah. So that's where those are. So engineers work here to develop the product between here and Kawasaki. Then it's tuned in Kawasaki, and then once they figure out exactly how this should go, the engineers here determine how the machines and how the lines actually build them as they go down the line. There's select Denon that's built here, and a lot of the Marantz pieces are built here, as well as things like Class A. So if you get a piece of Class A, that is actually manufactured here as well.
Right. So now if someone's choosing between a Cinema 30 or the A1H, and let's forget about the fact that the A1H has 2 extra channels. If you set up a 2-channel listening of the 2 different receivers, are they voiced differently from different engineering over at Shirikawa? Because it's made in the same factory, but both of them are made in Shirikawa, but the sound tuning is done in a different process, right? Different masters are working on those 2 different units.
In the beginning, both of Cinema 30 and the A1H, we did learn team and then team make physical design in Shirakawa. After that, we send it to Kawasaki, sound master in Kawasaki, and then sound master and Marantz sound master did final tuning at Kawasaki.
Yeah, and sometimes even if you look at some of the, if you look at some of the more entry level Marantz pieces, and you compare them to some of the Denon pieces on the early surfaces, if you take the lids off, they look kind of similar. But when you dive into them, you start seeing things like HNAMs or even different capacitors and resistors that are utilized in those. So when you really dive into them, you really start seeing those little subtle differences that are done by the sound masking and the sound tuning to get the kind of sound that they're looking for.
Well, I'll tell you this real quickly. Just measuring Denon and Marantz receivers over the years, I spent a lot of time just kind of looking at the phono stages as well, because I still listen to vinyl, and I'm a huge vinyl proponent, even if people think it's archaic or nostalgic. One thing I notice about that's in common with a lot of your products is you guys put a lot of effort into the phono preamps. It's not just like an afterthought. I've seen competitor products in the same price class that they don't measure well, or they don't have enough input drive for the phono preamp stages, or they get high distortion. But you guys, it's obvious that you still put a lot of focus towards phono, because you just showed me the woman that's making the cartridges by hand.
Yeah, so we are really passionate about just music, delivering the artist's expressions. So whether that's getting the most out of a digital file or getting the most out of analog, and analog has a flavor, a feel to it that's just different than digital. And remember, Denon started off, the very first product from Denon was a turntable. I guess it was called a phonograph. You used to have to hand crank the thing to make it actually play, right? So when it comes to phono, we're still passionate about it, and it seems to be making a big comeback. And you see that the care that of all the little subtle pieces and details that they put into these products is amazing.
Yeah, we got a quick super chat and then we'll continue on. Someone's asking, thanks for the super chat, Polyester Pimp. How do you these names kill me. I recently brought a Cinema 40 and have been loving it in my 3.1. What are the differences between direct and pure direct mode? So if I can answer, then you guys can confirm. So pure direct will bypass bass management, subwoofer output. You'll just get 2 channels, whereas direct will still give you the feed to the subwoofers. Is that correct?
That'd be the best way to do it. Explain it.
Yeah, it's also when you are pure direct, you will also stop some parts, electric parts. So some transformer will not be sustain some electric components. So you will have even more clearer sound because you have more direct power. You don't use power for a display for something else. So you have much more clarity, less low noise, and such a kind of thing. So it's two different levels. Pure direct, you can have your information on the screen, you can have some displays, and with pure direct, everything is shut down, even the power supply.
That's why
you can't get subwoofer output in pure direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good question, polyester pimp. One thing we want to talk about today is we wanted to come and talk about a couple of new pieces, and you're probably going to come back a little later, but we're going to probably get in here and talk about some of these pieces here, which we want to talk about. This is the new M1 and M4, which and these have that same philosophy when it comes to sound tuning and everything else that we do with all of our other products. But we were sitting around drinking. Actually, we were drinking. He was behaving himself last night, and we asked him if he could come by, and say hello. So thank you.
I just have to say before Yuki leaves, he's got the best hair in the room.
Yes.
Not even close.
Yes. Thank you. So hang out, because I'm sure a little bit later they're gonna have some more questions, and only you could probably answer some of these. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to talk about a couple of new products that we're introducing. We actually had the opportunity, some of these guys, the very first time to actually hear some of these. Actually, we've heard them, but a lot of the staff hadn't had the opportunity to hear these new models. So we have the new M1 and we have the new M4.
Is that an ice cream truck?
Gym exercises.
So it shows you were not in Compton.
Yes.
So we'll let them turn.
We'll see. Maybe you can turn it off.
He's running downstairs.
This is too funny.
All right, so let's talk about
okay. So of course, let's. You can still hear us, right? Even though the guy's doing his exercises on the radio, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about the M1 and M4. So first, let's talk first about the M1. The M1 is it has Heos built in and all of that, but consider this piece a compact hi-fi piece. Like you mentioned, Gene, there's a lot of networked little amplifiers. This goes beyond that when it comes to sound quality. So we want to spend some time talking about it, and because I know that you're going to be quite curious about these particular models. So we wanted to go through and talk about these models. And as I mentioned, it's designed as a hi-fi piece. So like little things like powered speakers are becoming kind of popular. But if you have a powered speaker, you're kind of locked into the amplification that's built into that speaker and the drivers that are built into that speaker. But if you want something that's more, that still is compact, but gives you more flexibility and more performance, something like this is going to cost about the same, and it's probably going to give you a better audio experience. So that's why people are saying, I want a great amplifier, but I want it to be small, and that's where this product actually comes in, because it's pretty compact for the size. It's bigger. People thought it was going to be the size. Shane thought it was going to be the size of an Apple TV. Shane, if I can get 100 watts per channel and an and everything else in an Apple TV, you could be a millionaire.
Is it bigger than the Sonos amp? Is it about the same size as a Sonos amp, or is it a little bit bigger?
It is a little bigger than a Sonos amp. So actually, Frederic is holding up about the size of the chassis. So it's a little bigger. So you can see in here.
It's 22 by 22.
Yeah. So it's going to be thicker. People said, and we'll explain to you why it's thicker. People said, why can't you make it thinner, like more narrow? But I'm gonna have Roland to talk about why is it this multiple layers and why we have to build it this size to fit everything in it. We want it to fit into it and maintain the sound quality that we were looking for,
Two side by side,
and put two side by side. Exactly.
or at least have the possibility.
So it's a pretty cool piece. So and just like the other models that we talked about earlier, it's manufactured in Shirakawa. We actually had the opportunity to go to the downstairs, and we got to watch them build these. So there's basically 4 people whose job is to build these. So I think they said it was like 1,000 parts, about I think it said like a couple of hundred or hand assembled, and then it's even, they do all the assembly, they do all of the everything. So it's all done hand and wrapped by hand. So this gentleman maps every single one. So
stupid question. I know nothing about this amp really. It's a 2-channel amp. It's a streaming amp. It runs on Heos.
Yes, it has the latest Heos board, which actually, Roland, why don't you talk a little bit about that board right there?
Yes, but not only that board, of course. So the whole construction, because I'm holding the Heos module in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So this is easily under the seat-sink. Thank you very much. And ultra compact, of course. So you see also these inputs in here. So this is the Heos model. It's actually, and then it's upside down. So in the package. So that it fits in such a small form factor. So and the basic thing is the other side. So it's completely black. So meaning because you can look into the product actually. So you see through this nice little mesh grill, which we have, you see inside. You can see inside the product. Of course, this also provides some, let's say, ventilation.
Mm-hmm. So let me show you an animation. So this is actually kind of cool. So people go, why is this thing not as thin as as some of the other ones out there? Well, the first thing is we got to make sure that we keep all, like, digital circuits can be noisy. So we have to make sure that we keep the digital circuits away from the analog, from the circuits that make music. So to reduce the amount of noise and make it, this is a hi-fi piece. So it has this kind of multi-layered structure. So if I look at this and it comes up and I pull it apart, the amplifier section's on the bottom, right? And then the board that he held up is in this top area above. In that top area, of course, also has the board that he was just talking about. So the HDMI, the Heos bar, the stuff that can make noise is done at a different layer than the amplifier to ensure that noise does not get into the signal. So in order to do that, the unit has to be thicker. So people would say, well, why couldn't you make it an inch or so smaller? Sound quality first, and that's the reason why we have this kind of multi-layered chassis here. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
So actually, Roland actually has the amplifier board too. So this is the actual amplifier. Actually, that's the amplifier module in the bottom. So this is it's a digital amp, right?
Yeah.
Well, Class D. Don't say digital.
Class D. So excuse me. Sorry, Gene.
Please.
It's a Class D amplifier.
Switching amplifier.
Amplifier.
Yes. Is it an ICE module? Is it Hypex or is it Purify?
It's Excigen, so it's I guess Excigen.
Excigen, but it's a custom version of that. So
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Excigen.
Excigen
is the name of the company. And
Excigen is the name of the company. So, and we are using, of course, with a very, very high-powered driver at the end of audio. So this is actually the power amplifier. So usually, there's a heatsink belonging to it, a classical heatsink, but the classical heatsink would be too large. So that's why we have. Can you turn it around?
A base plate.
We have a base plate, so meaning all this heat's going to this directly attached to this base plate, very, very thick base plate. So, and this does the actually cooling. So, and and it's really running very, very cool. So you actually don't need other cooling measures anymore because it's also rock stable. And it's permanently controlling also the temperature and all these nice little stuff. As you can see, so this is directly connected to the speaker terminals. So you also have some subwoofer output, and Yeah, and one change, so one RCA input. So it's
actually, so if you swing this,
yeah, you can. That's right. So
It's more clear.
that's more clear now. So you have these lower stage. So with the speaker outputs, with the RCA in and the subwoofer output, there are a lot of features related to the subwoofer output. We're coming later to talk about this, which you can use in the Heos app, so which you can also configure. So in the Heos app, so of course we have network, we have connect button, we have a USB port, the Heos thing, but it's also to improve your TV sound. So we have a HDMI EARC, meaning it also features a Dolby Digital Plus encoder actually. So, and we have an optical input, and of course we have the power in here. And all this is made in nice little design. So it's really inheriting the design philosophy of Marantz.
So it's a pretty, it's a nice piece. So yeah, it's a nice piece. But the main thing is hi-fi. This is 100 watts by 20 by 20 into 8 ohms with a very low distortion rate. So if you look at it and you measure, like a lot of times see these amplifiers, they'll tell you, Gene, it's 100 watts peak power with no rate of distortion or anything else, right? No, this is rated like a hi-fi piece. It's RMS, it's 20 to 20, it's low distortion, it's both channels driven, and it's an 8 ohm load. So it's truly a little hi-fi piece for someone who doesn't really want that 17-inch wide traditional piece. And all they want to do is either enjoy streaming music, maybe connect it to their TV, and maybe have one analog source and one digital source that they want to connect to it, like maybe a little turntable with a Phono preamp in it, or an older CD player with off a digital, something like that.
So
is there a GUI out of the HDMI?
There isn't it's just that's more of an input. So for someone who has, if you're trying to you want to connect it, and we found that a lot of times people have 2 speakers in this, and there'll be a TV on the wall, like in an office, like in my office, and they just want to get the sound from the TV through it. So it's not really an out. It's more of just a high quality input. Remember, this works off the Heos app. So if I go in here and before we go there, before we go into functionality, let's talk about this another thing that we say that this is a Marantz. So that means it needs to be tuned, and it needs to have all of the things that sonically that makes it a Marantz. So there's it has a thing called Marantz musical digital filtering. So what is that? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Ogata-san, which is the sound master responsible for this product, so he was really doing very, very well. So he selected specific digital filtering. So you always need digital filtering for, let's say, classical DA converter. So this is a digital end-to-end solution. So you don't have such a thing like a DA converter. So because you have you feed your switching amplifier with digital signal actually. So everything, also the analog, is converted into a digital signal, and when it's going through the whole exogen module, then the driver module, etc. So so he was selecting, of course, this is a major part of the sound tuning process. So he was trying different filter curves, different digital filter curves. And when he decided for, let's say, because Marantz is always the emotional sound, Marantz is always the transparent and really musical one sound, that's right. Very, 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 very broadband, white, that's right, very broadband. So, and that's why also he selected, let's say, not a sharp roll off, but a very, very slight roll off. That's true. So curve. So this is typical for Marantz, but you have a real, very good impulse response for that. And this is the curve actually which you showed, Phil. So which he selected as the, let's say, filter curve number 1. So one may say this slight roll off is not very good for measuring. That's true. The slight roll off does not measure very well. That's true. But yeah, Gene, you told us so that measuring is not everything. So you need to listen to this piece. And actually, but we have an alternative in the menu, so you can select curve number 2, for example, and filter curve number 2 is this sharp roll off. So you measure it, so it's really going up to high resolution to 40 kilohertz, and then it makes a sharp roll off. But yeah, so it's the real Marantz sound is reached by selecting, of course, the filter number 1, which is the default filter, of course.
Yeah. So, Gene, when you get the opportunity to review one, because you will, is you should try them both. Like I said, one will measure really good, but then you'll probably like the one that doesn't measure as well because it's just a smoother, more relaxed.
And look, that matters more when your sampling rate is low, like for CD, 44.1 kilohertz. But when you're dealing with 192 kilohertz, your dog might be able to hear the difference.
It rolls off. I can't hear 40. It doesn't go to 40.
Yeah.
Right there.
You're really talking about how it deals with Redbook performance, right? But I wanted to bring up a point that you glossed over before, Phil. You may not realize when you said that this is 100 watts, real 100 watts rated at low distortion. The thing I've been noticing, because I've been testing a lot of Class D amplifiers over the last couple of years, most of these modules, whether it's a ICE module, Hypex, Purify, whatever, you name it. Purify might be the exception because they do rate it at very low distortion. A lot of these amp modules are rated, when they tell you it's 150 watts or 250 watts, it's not at a low distortion, it's at 1% distortion. So that's, to me, is clipping because that's a 40 dB sine ed. That's not a good distortion figure. So if you're saying it's 100 watts at low distortion, I'm assuming you're talking about
0.05.
Which is really good. Yeah, which is really good. So that's great. The other question I have for you is it 100 watts? And maybe someone there that's more intimate with the design. A lot of Class D amplifiers are designed so their continuous rating is the same as the dynamic rating because there's no dynamic headroom. They're designing the power supplies for the continuous rating. Are we going to see the same thing in this amplifier, or is it going to be more like a linear AB amp where there's a dB or so of headroom, where it'll actually do dynamic burst power higher than just the continuous rating? I'm curious about that.
No, it's pure continuous rating. So meaning it's rock stable even after an hour or something like this. So it's really absolute continuous power. So yeah, we experience the same with many of the, let's say, competitor amplifiers are not having this continuously. So, but maybe just for 2 minutes or something like this, or 3 minutes, and then going down. But this is really continuous. So the engineers confirmed this, and they showed actually the measurements to us yesterday.
Yeah.
And what about in 4? How does it do in 4 ohms? Is it close to doubling?
I'm not sure what the wattage.
125 at 4 ohms.
So, yeah. So it's I mean, and like I said, it effortlessly. We had a pair of 803 D3s, and it plays them effortlessly. We were doing demos with a lot of the 705 signatures, 702 signatures, the new ones, flawless. I mean, that's overkill for $1,000 amplifier to put a $20,000 or $30,000 speaker on it. But if you're looking for a high quality, it's noticeable. And if you A/B this, I challenge you to A/B this against any of the other compact amplifiers out there. And this one sounds better, noticeably better when it comes to bass response, smoothness of voice, dialogue. It sounds like you want the convenience of being able to play music throughout your house, right? But a lot of times when you have these things, there's active listening and then there's passive listening. And most of these things are designed for passive listening. You're cooking, you're, maybe talking to your friends or maybe playing cards. You're not really focused on the music, right? Marantz pieces are for people who are focused on music, and they want to, and this is a piece for someone who's looking for something that's small, compact, to actively listen to. And if you actively listen to something and you compare the voice and the music and the violin sound like a violin, you will be shocked at how good this sounds for its price and how small it is.
Gotcha. Now I have a question I've been seeing on the forums, and it popped up here. So Phil, I'm going to put you on the spot so you can answer for people. Okay. Is Heos ever going to support Cobuzz? And don't give us a runaround politician answer. Give us the actual commit to something.
I can't.
Come on,
But
don't do the
I will
spin.
tell you, like we've had this. I promised Eugene that we were going to have another conversation later in the year about new stuff that's coming. I can't tell you what it is because I like coming to this factory and seeing the stuff that these guys are showing me. Because there's some stuff over there I can't show you, and if I can't, they'll never let me see that again if I tell yes or no to that question. So be patient. I will tell. Like, and we had mentioned before, there's been 30. We're on 33 versions of Heos now. Each they keep evolving it, and a lot of these demands that you guys have been asking, you're gonna get. Just be patient. The engineers only have so much time, and they're working down the wish list. Right? You gave us a whole bunch of wish lists for preamp modes and all that stuff for the amplifiers, and they got that done. So just be patient. That's
Yeah, and now your competitors are copying that. So
yes, they are. We always say others follow. If you look at Denon and Marantz products, first ones with IMAX Enhanced, first ones with Dolby Atmos, first ones with Oral 3D, first one with you name it. So a lot of times we do it first and other people follow. And there's some other stuff coming that they're going to want to follow as well. Okay.
So on this amp, is there any EQ at all? Is there any PEQ? Is there room correction? Any of that stuff? Is it possible to add a PEQ in there?
So it's not doing PEQ, but you do have things like low pass filters and high pass filters for things like your subwoofers. There's bass and treble adjustments, so you can actually go in and adjust your bass and treble and things like that. I know everybody's been asking about some sort of more digital, compensation and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Not that far, but we do give you enough adjustments to at least fine tune it like you would fine tune a small hi-fi piece.
Okay. So while we have everybody from Denon and Marantz here, I want to suggest a change in one feature on all your receivers.
You better wait for Yamada-san. He'll show up. What is it?
Dump the GEQ, replace it with manual PEQ. Even if you have, I know you've got D-Rack and you've got Odyssey, which are great. You're the only brand that has both, which is incredible. But for someone that doesn't want to deal with room correction and they just want to go in and team a couple of bass modes in their room, you can't do it with a GEQ. There's no magic around that. You need precision. You need to be able to select your center frequency, your bandwidth, and cut or gain. Just a 3 or 4 band PEQ, at least for the bass, would go long ways for integrators and just general consumers alike.
Okay.
Please.
For all you guys out there. There's a couple of guys behind the cameras, and they'll remember your requests because you've made a lot of requests, and they're taking notes. But now some other things we want to talk about is so this is a great piece, right? And if you want to do like one zone and you compact in a space, or maybe have an AVR in one room and put this in an office, you could take 2 of these and put them side by side on a shelf, right? But then what if you want more zones than that, or you want to drive more rooms than that? Now you could take 4 of these and stamp and stack them together, but we have a much better solution for you, and that is called the M4, which is actually this guy right here. So if we zoom back out on that a little bit, so this, if you look at it, is 4 basically M1s in a chassis. So you'll see that there's 4 independent Heos boards in there. And so this is basically equivalent of 4 M1s in one chassis. So if you're trying to, and there's some other things you can do with this. So you can bridge channels together if you want more power. And you don't need as many zones. It even has the ability to turn into for you to bypass all of the Heos capability and turn it into just a big 8-channel amplifier. So it's a pretty powerful piece. So for Roland, why don't you talk a little bit about this guy here?
So of course, it also features a 1,200 watts PSU. So it's actually also very, very heavy. So here in the upper part. So what you cannot see, it's actually the part below this digital let's say this digital board, because there are of course the Heos modules, but also on the digital board. So there are a lot of, we have these 2 DSPs, which are actually responsible for Dolby Digital decoding, because you have 2 optical inputs. So, and yeah, it's digital Dolby Digital decoding and then down mixing to 2-channel. So, and on the and you have all these inputs. So you have, of course, for RCA inputs and yeah, for the 2 optical ones, and you have the maybe the back panel.
Yeah,
right?
I can do this. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So you have the USB. You have the USB ports, 4 USB ports, and these are not, let's say, so the inputs and of course the optical inputs. These are not assigned to a specific zone, so it's really matrix switching. So you can maybe input one use in third zone or something like this. So it's no problem.
And it's digital matrix, right?
That's right. It's digital matrix. It's also this is now real digital end-to-end product. Yeah, because it also uses the same power amplifier. And this is actually what you don't see because this is on the layer below. There is the complete digital amplifier, and there is a really specific thing because it's really you can say it's 8 times 100 watts, and it's in 8 times in parallel 100 watts, and it's rock stable even if you use it in parallel. That's why we have big PSU in here.
Yeah. So let me give you some scenarios you can do with this. I mean, the things are, yes, you can have it as, have an AVR and have for your main zone and this for zones 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? A lot of our AVRs have more processing than amplifiers built in. So what you could do is you could have, say you have an amplifier that has 13 channels of processing, an AVR, but 11 channels of amplification. You could take 2 channels of this and use that to drive those other channels in your surround sound system and still have zone 2, 3, and 4. You could have one, you could do that for one. You could bridge 2 of them together for a big set of speakers in an office, and you would still have a third zone that you would have. So you still have 3 zones. The way that you can adjust this and utilize this in applications is just amazing. So guess what? It's good, high quality Marantz sound. It's not just a bunch of channels like a lot of these amplifiers. Same thing as the small single boxes. It's most of those multi-channels are designed for passive listening. I'm outside barbecuing. This is a hi-fi piece. It's just 4 basically hi-fi pieces and 4 2-channel hi-fi pieces in one box. So I think it's a really slick piece.
So you said it's an 8-channel 4-zone amp. You could bridge the channels if you want, right?
Yep. You could bridge the channels, and each zone has their own sub out. So if you wanted to have one zone with a subwoofer and one zone play full range, you can do the combinations that you can do with it is good. And if you look at the Heos app, it just looks like you have 4 different hi-fi pieces, but it's all in this one chassis. It's just way more convenient.
What's the price on this one?
This piece is $3,500 US.
Right.
So if you think about it, this guy here would be like $1,000, right? So 4 of these would be more. Actually, we got another guest coming in here. Come over here, there, sir. I see him sneaking in. So if you think about it, what 4 of these would cost compared to one of these guys here,
you save about $500.
Yeah, you save $500 and you get the same capabilities. So
more capabilities, actually more powerful.
So we have another guest come over here. So they were making a whole bunch of requests that maybe you should hear. So
Hi.
So have a seat.
Hello.
Have a seat.
Oh, have a seat. Here?
Yeah. So for those who do not know, this is Yamada-san. Yamada-san is responsible for basically helping develop pretty much every AVR
Right.
out there.
Denon and Marantz.
Yeah. So he works with the engineering team and talks to people like you and our biggest customers and our biggest dealers. And he's kind of the liaison between the engineering team and the customers and the dealers about what products they want. And he makes really good stuff because you like it, right? So we wanted to introduce you to him too. So they were asking things like a PEQ.
Yes.
He knows. I've been. Yamada-san, it's great to see you, by the way.
Yeah, got you. Coming back and
So yeah, so guess what? Nice thing about coming to Japan, a lot of people that you want to talk to are all in the same building, which is actually kind of nice. So actually we have a couple other guests. So want to bring him over? So come here and explain what he.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so we have a lot of different folk coming in. So
So yeah,
So Phil, while we have Yamada-san there, I have another product request.
Feature request.
Feature request. So like on an AV10, which is a phenomenal processor, congrats on that. You saw with the bench test, and just using it over the last 6 months has been one of the best processors I've ever had in my system. Here's the problem though, when you're dealing with 15 channel processors, a lot of those channels could be unused. Maybe they're doing 7.1.4. But if you're in a larger room, like this room has 2 rows of seats, the reason why I don't have, I don't always recommend a processor like that for multi-row theaters is because you can't do 2 sets of side channels. And that's a problem in the industry with any of the flagship 15 channel processors, unless you move up to a Trinov or a Storm. You have the processing capability. You had it in the Denon 5805. You had it in the AVP A1, where you could do 2 sets of side channels. Why did that go away, and can we get it back?
2 sets of side channels.
yeah, but I think but back in the days when you had it, when we were talking about the traditional Adobe Digital DTS, where you had 7 channels and you had 2 sides, and then you can just mirror those 2 sides. Now, because of this object-based, that position, it needs to know what that position is. So in order to do that, you need more processing. You couldn't just split that. You can't just split the same signal for the left surround. You have to have a left surround forward and a left surround rear in order to do that. So it is more, and I think it has to do more with the object-based audio solutions with Pipe.
Yeah, and also probably let me comment one thing about that. So from AP10, we are we adapted feature called custom mode. For it's a feature we we continue supported on flagship Denon AVR. So you can create a 2 set of our side speakers, totally duplicate. So if you have narrow longer room, so then assign sound back 2 pairs or sound speakers 2 pairs. That's possible. That's a new feature from AV10.
Okay, so you know what, Gene? What we'll do is we'll actually maybe do a video on that, and we'll go through the meeting and show you how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you're just mirroring the side surround? Is that how it works?
Featured in the 8500, of course, and in the A1H. Yeah,
But before we go, we want to introduce one more person, because you're talking about you making requests. So
So this is your Keita-san. Who's been working on your it's a product like AMP10. So he's kind of our biggest driver for development of new Class D multi-channel amplifier from Marantz, and obviously he's working on the next project.
Oh, nice.
yeah, we can't talk about it, but you're gonna want to talk to him a little bit later.
I mean, look, it makes sense when you're dealing with high channel count AVRs. Why aren't we moving towards Class D for those too? I mean, I know it costs more to make a good Class D, but the channel density, the efficiency, there's so many advantages now to switching away from linear and going to Class D and AVRs.
Exactly. So unfortunately, I have to be the bad guy and say we actually have meetings we have to go to. But I see, like, the nice thing is I'm looking at that chat over there, and the chat is just blowing up. So I'm just happy that there's so many people out there that care about our products as much as everybody in this room does. We it's all about music. It's all about delivering the creator's intent, right? And it's nice to know that the hard work that everybody puts into this product, that there's you guys out there actually care about that. So that's why I wanted to say I had this opportunity, and we have all the big brains over here that get to talk about all the stuff that these guys do, and we figured it'd be great for your people to actually have an opportunity to meet them. But we actually have to go to work because I got to move all these cameras into another room to do a live stream for the rest of the company for some other stuff that I can't tell you about yet. But you'll find out about it later. All right.
Well, Phil, I appreciate you bringing everybody on. It was an awesome treat just to meet the people behind the products, behind the engineering of Denon and Marantz. I always love having you guys on. We should definitely do more follow-up videos. I'd like to do a whole thing just on room curves and target curves with you, Phil. So we could do that when you get back to the States.
Okay. Yeah. So just to summarize, new products, some really cool new products that are coming. So whether we're talking about, so if you're looking for compact hi-fi or having hi-fi in multiple rooms, we got you covered. You know the quality of things like our Cinema 30s and our X6800. So we continue to push the envelope when it comes to sound quality in a variety of different ways. And, that whole, made in Japan craftsmanship that we can offer on a lot of our products. And it just shows the care that we care about what's going on. So we have to go, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, guys, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Audioholics. Don't forget about Shane Lee. He's got his own Patreon channel, and we appreciate both of you guys supporting our channels.
And make sure you sign up to our YouTube channel too, by the way.
I did tag it. I'll put
on that. So make sure that you sign up for that as well. Okay?
Absolutely. I'll put it in the video description. All right, guys, until next time, my friends, keep listening.